in the field of military, politics, economy, and every other area. And right now, of course, we have been very much concerned. We have had the chance to address the issue related with the Russian attacks, and this is an issue that occupies the world agenda very heavily, as you know. We have reaffirmed our opinions. We, on one hand, have been taking necessary precautions in Europe, and on the other hand, we have underlined the importance that the common actions should be further accelerated to bring the parties together and also to establish dialogue. We, as Turkey, have helped very much. As a result of our efforts, the foreign ministers of Ukraine and also the Russian Federation met in Antalya with the participation of our foreign minister. In an environment where the war is ongoing, the fact that this meeting has now been organized is a significant success for the name of diplomacy, and it has been registered in history. We will continue with our efforts to ensure that diplomacy is established, is built, and consolidated. We, during our talks, distinguished members of press, have had the chance to address many items in our agenda. In this turbulent times with Germany, we are in terms that there is a necessity to revitalize our high-level strategic councils and organizations. And in Germany, our foreign ministers, before long, will hopefully meet in Germany to come together, and we will be organizing our high-level strategic council meeting in Turkey, hopefully. As G7 countries, our partnership in the new global order is to the benefit of all for us to carry forward. In export, Germany comes to first, and in import, the second to Turkey. The bilateral trade volume in 2021 came to $41 billion and even exceeded that figure. And I expressed it to Mr. Scholz again. Myself, we are determined to bring this figure to $50 billion. Renewable energy, fight against climate change, green transformation, artificial intelligence, and digitalization like areas, hopefully will be the areas where we have more cooperation, and I believe that these all will help bring our relations forward ahead. And another issue related with our relations is, of course, to do with the humanitarian scope of things. In the field of tourism, we in particular are working to ensure that we achieve the pre-pandemic figures. As known, the top countries in terms of tourism activities for Turkey was Russia and Germany, and I am sure that we will very decisively continue with our activities in the field of tourism. We believe that the Turkish community living in Germany is offering us common grounds for us to bring our relations even closer. Turkey-Almanya Labor Force Agreement's 63rd anniversary was celebrated. And this agreement indeed contributed very much to bring two countries together, and in terms of appreciating the efforts of the Turks who contributed tremendously to Germany and German economy, I believe this was a tremendous chance. Özlem Türeci and Uğur Şahin during the pandemic era have been figures of pride for us all to take, and on this occasion of the March 14th, I once again would like to congratulate them both. Distinguished members of press with Germany, we attach importance to working with close relations with Germany as regards regional matters. The developments unfolding in our region recently show that Turkey has a key role in many fields, energy and security coming first. In the EU, Germany is one of the countries that has a leading position with no doubt, and this is not open to even discussion. To further carry Turkish-German relations ahead, the constructive support and attitudes of our German friends, I believe, will continue. With these all, in particular in the field of education and training, in Istanbul, the Turkish-German University is indeed a very significant point of cooperation for us. And we talked to the Mr. Chancellor. The Turkish German universities, Germany premises hopefully will be very soon established. This is what I offered to him, and this is in our contract as well. And we will hopefully also start the religious studies, and we will be establishing a Turkish-German university in Antalya, and we hopefully will cover a lot of road if we can. Also establish the faculty of theology in the university, and with Mr. Chancellor's contributions, I believe we will be taking the necessary steps ahead. I assigned two colleagues in this. Mr. Cullen will continue with his task, and another MP, Mr. Chaatai, will work with Mr. Cullen, and they will be carrying on with all the necessary formalities. And Mr. Chancellor also will be assigning two officials for this, and they will have, hopefully, the chance to meet during the dinner we shall have very soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here as the Chancellor to Germany. I am very happy to be here in Turkey for the first time. And we talked for a very long time, and this also shows that we have very good relations and a good cooperation. We have come together during an era of wars. Of course, we could not have thought that such a thing would unfold. But the attacks by Russia against Ukraine are still ongoing, and we have been receiving many bad news about the pain experienced. We, as the citizens of both countries, are following news in the media, watching TV, but as we see the people who are suffering, families and buildings harmed and destroyed, we feel very much deeply saddened. We are in terms with Mr. President that the attacks should come to an end, and we are also in terms that a ceasefire should be achieved before long. Secure corridors for civilians should be established so that they can leave dangerous areas of the country. And every day we see that with missiles, with each and every missile launched by Russia, Russia is now distancing itself from the world community. We make a call to the President of Russia and ask him to stop. Only a diplomatic solution would prove to be fruitful. The talks in Ukraine and Russia are very important. And we exchanged our opinions with Mr. President here as regards the talks we held with the presidents of both countries. With Mr. Zelensky and also with the President of France, Mr. Macron, we had talks, and we should do all in our power so that these talks continue. But now it is crucial for results, concrete results to be achieved, and for guns to be silenced. We appreciate the efforts of the Turkish authorities for contributing to the positive potential outcomes, and the fact that two foreign ministers of both countries had a chance to meet in Turkey also was a good positive, of course, action. We, as much as we can, try to help. So far, 1.7 million Ukrainian refugees traveled to Poland, and more than 100,000 Ukrainian refugees, indeed, transited to Germany. This is a responsibility we should all assume, we should all support as much as we can. Other than that, we want Ukraine to be able to defend itself. We do that with financial and humanitarian aid, and also with weapons supplied. Pertaining to the Montreux Convention, it is also important so that the crisis does not escalate further, thanks to the closure of the straits to the war ships. And we appreciate that as well. Now the guidelines should go silent. What is significant for us, of course, is to see that the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine is protected. And right now, all happens is a violation of the territorial integrity of Ukraine. The changing situation related with security is what we are faced with. By the eastern borders of NATO, we have informed our allies that NATO will be strengthening its capacity and forces, and the convention will be put to practice. What we have to also understand is that the violation of law and rules shows that we all should be very strong. And that's why for our federal army we have allocated an additional 100 million euros of fund. That's why we have to ensure that security is intact. And in terms of economy, we have a lot to do. With Mr. President, we talked about our possible actions to further improve our economic relations. We have decided on some talks and some relevant formats for both parties to come together to address economic issues, not only in between Turkey and Germany, but also in between Turkey and the EU. The field of energy is very crucial, as you know. Germany has slowly stopped using fossil fuel resources, and we have almost about 25 years ahead of us. We want to reduce the amount of fossil fuels and gear towards more and more to renewable energy resources such as wind and solar. And when it comes to hydrogen, we have to import, and that's why we are willing for cooperation. In the future, we will have importing activities for such resources. It is important also to diversify the energy resources and that we use different resources coming from various countries so that we are not dependent on Russia. This way, we will be able to make our decisions more independently and regardless of this geopolitical developments. The European continent in the European continent, we should be building energy plants. This goes the same for renewable energy resources as well as conventional energy resources such as fossil fuel. We need to be acting as quickly as possible. We as ally countries need to be in cooperation, and our togetherness in NATO is the foundation of that. Now our relations within the scope of Atlantic have become more and more important. The members to NATO, Turkey included, are in a very close cooperation. We have to defend our security and human rights, rule of law, and democracy are some of the very other some of the issues that are very significant as well. We also appreciate the talks you held with the President of Israel. You also had a lot of talks with the Prime Minister of Greece, Mr. Mitsotakis, and we appreciate those talks. Turkey and the EU are in cooperation, and we have certain plans for the future. For example, high level dialogue formats will be materialized. We will also continue negotiating regarding customs union and customs related issues. For refugees and asylum seekers, our cooperation is of utmost importance. Right now, in the face of the Ukrainian issues, we see that such things never come to an end. As long as there is violence, unfortunately, people will be displaced. They will be looking for safe and secure places. And it's our humanitarian responsibility to protect these people. Our bilateral relations are in a good position, and in Germany, we have a lot of Turkish origin citizens. Their parents or their grandparents moved to Germany from Turkey, and they are now important members of our community in the federal government and also in the Federal Assembly. We have many MPs, many ministers, many deputies who have Turkish origins, and the fact that they contribute to German politics very actively makes us very happy. With Mr. President, we expressed our will to further improve our relations in all such fields. Of course, we have differences of opinion. We have different opinions. Human rights and also we know that there are some citizens who are in house arrest, and we believe that the issues that haven't been fully solved right now will be solved very soon, and we are willing to improve our relations, and my government has taken that responsibility. And using this opportunity, Mr. President, I would like to thank you very much for your invitation and also for this constructive meeting. I will be happy to continue with our talks in the future. I also would like to thank to Mr. Chancellor's sincere evaluations. Uh, he did in a way, in a fashion that he opened his heart, if you will. So the talks we held today were truly very sincerely held in a very sincere atmosphere, and at a high-level strategic council meeting, which will take place, will be an important step. And before that council meeting, the activities that our relevant ministers will carry out, and the talks that our special missions and representatives will beforehand hold, will help a lot, so that we can go to our high-level strategic council meeting in a very uh, effective manner. Now we have been informed that we will receive two questions from the German press and two questions from the Turkish side. We will be leaving the floor to our guests first, so the floor is now yours. Members of press from Germany. Thank you. So we will be leaving the floor to the German side firstly. The floor is yours. I'm from Deutsche Welle. And Mr. President Erdoğan, you talked about cooperation in military. And the Chancellor said that the partners, the members to NATO, should be united. Will you be procuring weapons from Russia still? And will you be joining the sanctions imposed by the West? A question to Mr. Chancellor. Would you prefer Turkey be a part of the sanctions or remain neutral, rather, and be more open to Moscow? In other words, for example, for the next negotiations, would you rather opt for Turkey's mediation for the next maybe meetings to come? I, first of all, would like to express when I said military, what does cooperation in NATO mean? The cooperation in NATO is indeed a manifestation of solidarity in the field of military. This is such an institution. Starting from heavy weaponry to aircrafts, if you are in NATO, you use them. And now in NATO, we are both important members to NATO. We are both member states, and evaluating that in particular in such a period is very crucial. So what we can do together and how we can tackle certain shortcomings. These were what we addressed. When it comes to the weapons procured from Russia, I see that you are curious about the answer for this. So far, there are some weapons we have procured. So we will see what the future will bring, and it is now early to assume on that. We have to see what the conditions will bring and what they will take away. And in previous press meetings, as we reiterated before, we have to protect our friendship with both Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Putin. However, when it comes to sanctions in line with the UN resolutions, we have done all necessary. And we, in spite of Russia, have done for Russia What many NATO countries have still not, and we continued with our humanitarian aid. So far, we have sent about more than 40 trucks of humanitarian aid to Ukraine, and we will continue to do so. And now I will be speaking for Germany. I can say that Turkey has clearly expressed that it is against these attacks and defended the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine. And Turkey also has sent arms, not only humanitarian aid. We have to recognize all these in our discussions. However, we also should note that the EU, the US, and many other countries have made decisions about a very concrete sanctions. These sanctions have brought about more dramatic outcomes than even expected, and the repercussions, the impacts of those sanctions are now felt everywhere in Russia. To achieve ceasefire first, and then to ensure to ensure peace prevails, we do impose those sanctions. While talking to Putin, the president of France or the president of Israel, while talking uh, mm, to them, we all are concerned about how we can help Ukraine. What matters is Ukraine's own perspective and how we can help them. However, we have to acknowledge one fact. Ukraine is a nation, and no matter what language they speak, they are defending their homeland. All right, now we will be receiving the second question from the German side. Oliver Meyer is my name. I'm from ARD. My question is to you, Mr. Scholz. Your predecessor was accused of turning a blind eye to humanitarian crimes. How then will you continue? Will you be turning on a green light for the import of weapons? Another question to both presidents. Voice of America and Deutsche Welle. Some demand license for them, and some are concerned that this will lead to censorship. How would you comment on these matters? I think you are not being fair to Ms. Merkel. She never turned a blind eye to humanitarian matters. I should be defending her. As the EU, with Turkey, we signed an agreement for refugees and also asylum seekers, people who fled wars. We should always recognize that millions of refugees took asylum and fled to Turkey. In the agreement we signed, Turkey has been supporting the process to host these people and offering many opportunities such as education or accommodation. This has been a convention and agreement signed for the benefit of refugees, and Ms. Merkel has always considered that matter. in this fashion. This agreement is a good element of cooperation. And I also would like to say one more thing. Our job is not only uh, to take responsibility when refugees come to our countries, but also take responsibility when there are refugees across the world. We cannot say that as long as they do not come to our country, it is not our concern. Of course, we need such agreements like the one signed with Turkey. When it comes to Deutsche Welle, we support this outlet. I talked about this with Mr. President. We want them to publish and broadcast independently, and this is our goal.
NTV televizyonu Özden
From
Erkuş.
NTV,
Sayın Scholz,
Özden
sorum size
Arkush
şu.
is my name. I have a
Az
question
önceki
to Mr. Scholz.
konuşmanızda NATO
In your
çerçevesindeki güvenlik
speech
durumunun ortaya çıktığını
before,
söylediniz.
you said a
Rusya-Ukrayna
new
saldırısından
security
sonra. Bu
issue is on the
çerçevede
rise
İsveç,
after the attacks by
Almanya'nın
Russia to
Türkiye'ye
Ukraine.
bazı askeri
For a
malzemeler
while,
yolladığı Türkiye'nin ulusal
there
taarruz
are
listesinde
some
olduğunu da öğrendik.
military
Bu malzemelerin satışına izin
materials,
vermediğini biliyoruz. Üstü kapalı bir ambargo
such
söz
as
konusu.
the
Bu yeni güvenlik
engines
durumunda
of
NATO
anti-tanks
müttefikimiz olan Türkiye'ye
not supplied to
ambargonun sona
Turkey.
ermesi için ne
So,
yapacak?
as a member to NATO, will you be taking some steps ahead to ensure that these products are supplied? We are in a close cooperation. I have already given you some examples. Mr. President also touched on some of those issues. This cooperation is becoming more and more important. For example, the forces, the troops of NATO um, by the West front, we want to strengthen them more and more. For the federal army and for the NATO budget, we have now allocated an additional fund, and we have been contributing by 50 billion. We have a very sharp, a very concrete defense industry export policy. Our laws are very definite. We have to align within the framework of the laws and abide by the laws. One more question from A News, Rüya Akkuş. My question is to Mr. Chancellor. Mr. Chancellor, you said that you have been supplying humanitarian aid and also weapons to Ukraine. For example, the Ukrainian ambassador to Germany said that Germany refused to help about weapons and also accused Germany of hypocrisy. And also some said that uh, Germany, through the hand of NATO, has been preventing the supply of weapons to Ukraine. How would you like to comment on these, Mr. Chancellor? For Ukraine's own defense, we have assisted since 2014. We have been assisting Ukraine financially for its defense. We believe that this is our responsibility for the future as well. NATO, as the EU and Germany, we support. We have supported Ukraine with many defense weapons so far. Thank you.